Right now, at this very moment, every galaxy in the observable universe is racing away from us at speeds that would make your head spin. The Andromeda Galaxy is hurtling through space at 250,000 miles per hour. Distant quasars are retreating at nearly the speed of light itself. And here's the mind-bending part. This isn't happening because these cosmic objects are moving through space. Space itself is expanding, stretching like a cosmic balloon being inflated by some invisible force. But here's where your brain starts to hurt, and where even the smartest physicists admit they lose sleep at night. If the universe is expanding, what exactly is it expanding into? What lies beyond the edge of everything we know? Is there some vast emptiness waiting to be filled? Or does the very question reveal a fundamental misunderstanding of reality itself? Tonight, we're diving headfirst into one of the most profound mysteries in all of science. We'll explore the cutting-edge theories that attempt to answer this impossible question. From the multiverse hypothesis to the holographic principle, from the concept of space-time itself to the possibility that our entire universe might be nothing more than information processing on a distant boundary. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why this question has kept cosmologists awake for decades, and why the answer might be stranger than anything science fiction has ever imagined. Now prepare yourselves. We begin. First, let me tell you why this matters. Understanding cosmic expansion isn't just academic curiosity. It's the key to understanding our place in existence itself, whether we're alone in a single expanding bubble of reality, or whether infinite other universes exist beyond our cosmic horizon. The answer determines whether our universe will expand forever into cold emptiness, collapse back on itself, or meet some fate we haven't even imagined yet. I'm going to walk you through 5 mind-bending possibilities for what lies beyond our expanding universe, each one more incredible than the last, and I'll show you the actual evidence that supports these theories, from the cosmic microwave background radiation to the behavior of distant supernovae that first revealed the universe's accelerating expansion. We'll see how the greatest minds in physics have grappled with this question and why their answers challenge everything we think we know about space, time, and existence itself. The journey starts with a revelation that shattered our understanding of the cosmos just over a century ago. In 1929, astronomer Edwin Hubble made a discovery that would forever change how we see our place in the universe. He found that distant galaxies weren't just moving away from us, they were moving away at speeds proportional to their distance. The farther away a galaxy was, the faster it was receding. This wasn't random motion. This was evidence of something far more profound happening to the fabric of reality itself. Picture this cosmic dance happening all around us. Every second, space itself grows larger. Not by galaxies flying apart through empty void, but by the void itself expanding. Imagine drawing dots on a balloon, then inflating it. The dots don't move across the balloon's surface, but they get farther apart as the surface stretches. This is exactly what's happening to our universe. Except instead of a 2-dimensional balloon surface, we're dealing with 3-dimensional space that's expanding in all directions simultaneously. The mathematics behind this expansion are elegant and terrifying. They tell us that space has been growing for 13.8 billion years since the Big Bang. They reveal that the expansion is accelerating, driven by mysterious dark energy that makes up 68% of everything that exists. And they lead us to a conclusion that breaks our everyday intuition about how reality works. If space itself is expanding, then the question, what is it expanding into, might be meaningless in ways we're only beginning to understand. But our brains rebel against this idea. We're hardwired to think in terms of containers and contents. When we inflate a balloon, it expands into the air around it. When water fills a bathtub, it expands into the empty space within. So when cosmologists tell us that space itself is expanding, our minds immediately ask the obvious question. What's the container that space is expanding into? This is where modern physics gets weird in ways that make Alice in Wonderland seem perfectly logical. The first possibility is that there is no container, no outside, no beyond. The universe might be all there is, and expansion doesn't require something to expand into. Space creates itself as it grows, bringing new volume into existence from nothing. This isn't expansion in the sense we understand it from everyday experience. It's something far stranger. Think about the surface of a sphere. An ant crawling on that surface could travel in any direction forever without reaching an edge or boundary. The surface is finite but has no edge, no outside from the ant's perspective. Our three-dimensional space might work the same way. It could be finite but unbounded, curved back on itself in dimensions we can't visualize. In this scenario, asking what space expands into is like asking what's north of the North Pole. The question assumes a framework that doesn't exist, but there's a second possibility that's even more mind-bending. What if our universe isn't alone? What if it's one bubble in an infinite foam of universes, each with its own space, time, and physical laws? This is the multiverse hypothesis, and it suggests that our expanding universe is growing into a higher dimensional space that contains countless other universes. Each universe would be like a bubble in boiling water, expanding in its own region of this cosmic hyperspace. In this scenario, our Big Bang wasn't the beginning of everything. Numbers of dimensions, different fundamental constants, different rules, just the beginning of our local cosmic neighborhood. Other universes might have different for how matter and energy behave. Some might be expanding faster than ours, others might be contracting. A few might have conditions suitable for complexity and life, while most would be sterile wastelands where nothing interesting could ever happen. The multiverse hypothesis solves the expansion problem by giving our universe somewhere to expand into. But it raises even deeper questions. What is this higher dimensional space that contains all these universes? Does it have its own properties, its own geometry, its own evolution? And if our universe is expanding into this space, what happens when it encounters other expanding universes? Do they collide, merge, pass through each other like ghostly ships in a cosmic night? Some versions of multiverse theory suggest these cosmic collisions have already happened. They predict that we might find evidence of other universes in the cosmic microwave background radiation, the ancient light that fills our sky from the early universe. Circular patterns or temperature anomalies could be the scars left behind when our universe brushed against another reality billions of years ago. But here's where it gets even stranger. What if space and time aren't fundamental at all? What if they're emergent properties of something deeper and more basic? This leads us to our third possibility, one that challenges our most basic assumptions about the nature of reality. Some physicists propose that space and time emerge from quantum information processing, like pixels on a cosmic computer screen. In this view, the universe isn't expanding into anything because space itself is just a convenient way to organize information about quantum relationships. Picture reality as a vast network of quantum connections, like an impossibly complex web where each connection point represents a quantum bit of information. What we perceive as space and time would be the patterns that emerge when this quantum information is processed in specific ways. Distance would correspond to how many quantum connections separate 2 points in the network. Time would be the sequence in which information propagates through the system. In this quantum information framework, asking what the universe expands into becomes like asking what the internet expands into when new servers come online. The network grows by adding new connections and processing nodes, but it doesn't expand into some pre-existing space. The connections themselves create the structure that we interpret as spatial relationships. This isn't just philosophical speculation. Recent advances in quantum physics have revealed deep connections between quantum entanglement, the geometry of space, and the flow of time. The holographic principle suggests that all the information in any volume of space can be encoded on its two-dimensional boundary, like a hologram that creates the illusion of three-dimensional depth. If this is true, then our three-dimensional universe might actually be information processing on a distant two-dimensional surface. But there's a fourth possibility that pushes the boundaries of imagination even further. What if the expansion we observe isn't real expansion at all, but rather a change in the fundamental structure of reality itself? Some theories suggest that what we interpret as cosmic expansion is actually the universe evolving through different phases of existence, like water changing from ice to liquid to vapor. In this scenario, the universe isn't getting bigger in any spatial sense. Instead, the relationships between fundamental particles and forces are changing in ways that create the illusion of expansion when viewed from our limited perspective. It's like being inside a house where all the rooms are slowly getting larger, but the house itself maintains the same external dimensions. From inside, everything seems to be moving away from everything else, but from outside, nothing has changed. This phase transition model suggests that the universe goes through cycles of apparent expansion and contraction, not because space is actually growing and shrinking, but because the underlying rules of reality are shifting. During expansion phases, the quantum fields that create matter and energy behave in ways that make distances appear to increase. During contraction phases, these same fields create the opposite effect. The evidence for this comes from studying how fundamental constants might change over cosmic time. If the strength of gravity, the speed of light, or the mass of elementary particles has varied throughout cosmic history, it could create apparent expansion without requiring space itself to grow. Some observations of distant quasars and ancient starlight suggest these constants might indeed be slowly evolving. Yet there's a fifth possibility that makes all the others seem mundane by comparison. What if our entire universe, with all its galaxies, stars, planets, and life, is actually a hologram being projected from information stored on a distant boundary? And what if the expansion we observe is simply the processing power of this cosmic computer increasing over time? This holographic universe hypothesis emerges from serious physics, not science fiction. It's based on discoveries about black holes that revealed something impossible about information storage. When matter falls into a black hole, the information about that matter gets encoded on the black hole's two-dimensional surface, not in its three-dimensional interior. This suggests that the maximum amount of information any region can contain is determined by its surface area, not its volume. Applied to cosmology, this means our entire observable universe, with all its apparent three-dimensional complexity, might actually be information patterns on a two-dimensional surface located at the cosmic horizon, the boundary beyond which we cannot see. What we experience as cosmic expansion would be the computational processes on this boundary becoming more complex over time, creating the illusion of growing three-dimensional space. In this holographic model, asking what the universe expands into is like asking what the images on a computer screen expand into when you increase the resolution. The images become more detailed and complex, but they don't expand into any physical space beyond the screen. They're just patterns of information being processed more extensively. The implications of this are staggering. If we're living in a holographic universe, then everything we think of as real, solid matter is actually information processing. The atoms in your body, the chair you're sitting on, the planet beneath your feet, all of it would be computational processes happening on a distant two-dimensional boundary that we can never reach or directly observe. But here's what makes this more than just wild speculation. The holographic principle makes specific predictions about what we should observe in the cosmic microwave background radiation and the large-scale structure of the universe. Some of these predictions match observations better than traditional three-dimensional models of cosmic evolution. Recent experiments have even tested whether our local region of space might have holographic properties. Scientists have built incredibly sensitive instruments that can detect whether space itself pixelates at extremely small scales, the way a hologram breaks down into individual dots when you look too closely. The results are still inconclusive, but they suggest we might be on the verge of determining whether reality itself is fundamentally two-dimensional information masquerading as three-dimensional space. Each of these 5 possibilities forces us to reconsider our most basic assumptions about existence itself. Whether space expands into nothing, into higher dimensions, into quantum information networks, through phase transitions or as holographic processing, the answer reveals something profound about the nature of reality. But we're just getting started. In the next part of our journey, we'll dive deeper into the evidence for each of these theories. We'll see how cosmic microwave background radiation might contain the fingerprints of other universes, how quantum entanglement experiments are testing whether space itself is made of information, and how the accelerating expansion driven by dark energy might be the key to understanding which of these mind-bending possibilities is actually true. The universe is expanding, and that expansion is accelerating. But into what? The answer might be stranger than we ever dared imagine. The evidence for these mind-bending possibilities isn't hidden in abstract mathematics or theoretical speculation. It's written across the sky in ways we're only now learning to read. Every night, ancient light from the edge of the observable universe carries messages about the fundamental nature of space and time, and what these messages tell us challenges everything we thought we knew about cosmic expansion. Let's start with the most direct evidence we have for how expansion actually works. The cosmic microwave background radiation fills every corner of the sky with faint heat left over from when the universe first became transparent to light. This ancient glow contains tiny temperature variations, hot spots and cold spots that represent the seeds from which all cosmic structure eventually grew. But here's what's remarkable. These variations show patterns that shouldn't exist if space expanded the way we normally think about expansion. Picture the universe, 380,000 years after the Big Bang, when this ancient light was first released. At that time, the observable universe was only about 84 million light-years across. Light hadn't had enough time to travel between distant regions, so they couldn't communicate with each other or coordinate their temperatures. Yet when we map the cosmic microwave background today, we see that regions separated by more than 2 degrees in the sky, regions that could never have been in contact, have nearly identical temperatures. This is called the horizon problem, and it reveals something profound about cosmic expansion. The only way these distant regions could have the same temperature is if they were once close together, much closer than the normal expansion of space would allow. This suggests that space itself underwent a period of incredibly rapid expansion, faster than light, that stretched tiny regions of the early universe across vast cosmic distances. This rapid expansion phase, called cosmic inflation, provides our first crucial clue about what expansion actually means. During inflation, space didn't expand into anything in the conventional sense. Instead, space created itself as it grew, generating new volume from quantum fluctuations in the fabric of reality itself. The universe literally bootstrapped itself into existence, pulling space and time out of nothing through pure quantum mechanical processes. But inflation tells us something even more disturbing. If it happened once, it's probably still happening now, just not in our local region of the universe. Picture a pot of boiling water where bubbles form, expand, and separate from the boiling surface. Each bubble represents a universe like ours, a region where inflation has ended and normal expansion has taken over. But outside these bubbles, in the space between them, inflation continues eternally, creating new bubbles of spacetime that grow into their own universes. This eternal inflation scenario gives our universe something to expand into, namely the ever-growing inflating background that spawns new universes constantly. But it raises a terrifying question. If this is true, then our observable universe is just one bubble in an infinite foam of realities, most of which we can never detect or interact with. The space our universe expands into would be populated by countless other universes, each with its own Big Bang, its own evolution, its own possible forms of life. The evidence for this cosmic multiverse comes from studying the quantum fluctuations that inflation stretched into the patterns we see in the cosmic microwave background. These fluctuations follow precise mathematical relationships that match what we'd expect from eternal inflation. The statistics of hot and cold spots in the ancient light match computer simulations of bubble universes forming in an eternally inflating background. Even more intriguing, some researchers claim to have found circular patterns in the cosmic microwave background that could be the signatures of collisions between our universe and neighboring bubble universes. These patterns, if confirmed, would be direct evidence that our universe has encountered other realities during its expansion. The collisions would have happened billions of years ago, leaving fossil traces in the form of rings of slightly hotter or cooler radiation imprinted on the sky. But the multiverse hypothesis faces a fundamental challenge. If other universes exist beyond our cosmic horizon, how can we ever prove they're real? This is where the holographic principle offers a radically different perspective on what expansion means. Instead of our universe growing into a higher dimensional space filled with other universes, the holographic principle suggests that expansion is an illusion created by information processing on a two-dimensional boundary. The evidence for holographic reality comes from studying black holes and discovering that they store information in ways that violate our three-dimensional intuitions. When you throw a book into a black hole, the information in that book doesn't disappear into the black hole's interior. Instead, it gets encoded on the black hole's two-dimensional surface, scrambled and distributed across the event horizon in patterns that preserve every detail about the book's contents. This discovery led physicists to realize that any region of space might work the same way. All the information about what's happening inside a volume of space could be encoded on the boundary of that region. Applied to the entire universe, this means everything we observe, from distant galaxies to the chair you're sitting on, might actually be information patterns on a surface located at the edge of the observable universe. If this is true, then cosmic expansion isn't space growing larger, it's the computational processing on this boundary becoming more complex over time. What we interpret as the universe getting bigger would actually be the holographic projection becoming more detailed and sophisticated. The galaxies racing away from us would be information patterns spreading out across the boundary surface as the cosmic computer processes more and more data about the state of reality. Recent experiments have tested this possibility by looking for signs that space itself might be pixelated at incredibly small scales. If we're living in a holographic universe, then at some point, if you zoom in far enough, space should break down into discrete units, like pixels on a computer screen. Scientists have built instruments sensitive enough to detect fluctuations in the fabric of spacetime at scales smaller than protons. The results suggest that space might indeed have a granular structure at quantum scales. But there's another line of evidence that points toward an even stranger possibility. What if the expansion we observe isn't happening in space at all, but rather represents changes in the fundamental laws of physics themselves? This idea emerges from studying how the constants of nature might evolve over cosmic time. The fine structure constant determines the strength of electromagnetic interactions. The gravitational constant determines how strongly masses attract each other. The mass of the electron sets the scale for atomic physics. We normally think of these as unchanging numbers built into the fabric of reality, but observations of distant quasars suggest that some of these constants might be slowly changing as the universe ages. If fundamental constants change over time, it could create the illusion of cosmic expansion without requiring space itself to grow. Imagine that the size of atoms slowly increases as the universe ages. From our perspective, everything would appear to be getting farther apart, but only because our measuring sticks, made of atoms, are growing larger. The universe wouldn't be expanding into anything because no actual expansion would be occurring. This variable constant hypothesis explains some puzzling observations about distant supernovae and quasars that don't quite fit standard models of cosmic expansion. It also suggests that what we call expansion might be a phase transition in the underlying structure of reality, similar to how water changes from ice to liquid to vapor without requiring additional space to expand into. The most direct test of this idea comes from studying the cosmic microwave background radiation with unprecedented precision. If constants are changing over time, they should leave distinctive signatures in the ancient light patterns. Subtle variations in temperature and polarization could reveal whether the laws of physics themselves are evolving as the universe expands, but perhaps the most profound evidence comes from quantum mechanics itself. Recent discoveries about quantum entanglement reveal that space and time might not be fundamental features of reality. Instead, they might emerge from the quantum information processing that connects particles across vast distances. When two particles become entangled, they remain connected regardless of how far apart they travel. Measuring one particle instantly affects the other, even if they're separated by billions of light years. This quantum connection appears to operate outside of space and time as we understand them. It suggests that the relationships between quantum particles might be more fundamental than the space-time arena where we observe those particles. If space-time emerges from quantum entanglement, then cosmic expansion becomes a very different phenomenon. Instead of space growing larger, expansion would represent an increase in the complexity of quantum relationships throughout the universe. More particles becoming entangled over longer distances would create the illusion that space itself is expanding. This quantum emergence hypothesis makes specific predictions about what we should observe in the cosmic microwave background and the large-scale structure of the universe. The patterns of galaxy distribution and the fluctuations in ancient light should reflect the underlying quantum information network that generates the appearance of three-dimensional space. Testing these predictions requires pushing our observational capabilities to their limits. The next generation of cosmic microwave background satellites will map temperature variations across the sky with sensitivity that can detect quantum fluctuations from the first moments after the Big Bang. These observations will reveal whether spacetime is fundamental or whether it emerges from deeper quantum processes. The stakes couldn't be higher. If spacetime is emergent, then the question of what the universe expands into becomes meaningless in the most literal sense. There would be no container because there would be no contents, only information processing that creates the illusion of spatial expansion. Reality itself would be computational, and expansion would be the universe calculating its own future states. Each piece of evidence points toward a conclusion that challenges our deepest intuitions about reality. The universe might be expanding into nothing, into everything, or into computational processes that exist beyond our current understanding of existence itself. The answer determines not just the fate of cosmic expansion, but the fundamental nature of space, time, and consciousness. But we're approaching the most crucial part of our journey. The accelerating expansion driven by mysterious dark energy holds the key to determining which of these possibilities describes our reality. And what we're discovering about dark energy suggests that the universe's expansion might be heading toward a fate stranger than any of these theories predict. The story of dark energy begins with a discovery that shattered every prediction cosmologists had made about the universe's future. In the 1990s, two independent teams of astronomers were studying distant supernovae to measure how cosmic expansion was slowing down. They expected to find that gravity was gradually winning the battle against expansion, pulling galaxies back together over billions of years. Instead, they discovered something that made no sense whatsoever. The universe wasn't slowing down, it was speeding up. Picture driving a car where you take your foot off the gas pedal, but instead of coasting to a stop, the car accelerates faster and faster. That's essentially what's happening to cosmic expansion. Some invisible force is pushing space apart with ever-increasing strength, overcoming gravity and driving galaxies away from each other at accelerating speeds. Scientists named this mysterious force dark energy, though calling it energy might be misleading. Dark energy doesn't behave like any form of energy we've ever encountered. Normal energy gets diluted as space expands, like perfume spreading through a room becomes less concentrated over time. But dark energy gets stronger as the universe grows larger. The more space that exists, the more dark energy there is to drive expansion even faster. This creates a feedback loop that defies our understanding of physics. Dark energy causes space to expand, which creates more dark energy, which causes faster expansion, which creates even more dark energy. It's like a cosmic engine that runs on its own output, becoming more powerful with every moment that passes. What makes this discovery truly unsettling is the precision required for dark energy to work the way it does. If dark energy were slightly weaker, gravity would have won the battle billions of years ago, causing the universe to collapse back into a big crunch. If dark energy were slightly stronger, it would have torn apart galaxies, stars, and eventually atoms themselves long before complexity could evolve. The fact that dark energy has exactly the right strength to allow 13.8 billion years of cosmic evolution suggests something profound about the relationship between expansion and the space it's expanding into. Either we live in an incredibly unlikely universe that happened to get the dark energy strength exactly right, or the process of expansion itself determines how strong dark energy can be. This leads us to a startling possibility. What if dark energy isn't a property of our universe at all, but rather a property of the larger reality that our universe is expanding into? In the multiverse scenario, dark energy could be the pressure exerted by other bubble universes as they grow and compete for space in the higher dimensional arena that contains them all. Imagine soap bubbles forming in a bathtub. Each bubble expands until it encounters other bubbles, creating pressure that determines how fast each one can grow. If our universe is one bubble among countless others, then dark energy might be the cosmic equivalent of that pressure, the resistance our universe encounters as it expands into regions occupied by other realities. This bubble pressure hypothesis makes testable predictions about what we should observe in the cosmic microwave background radiation. If other universes are pressing against our cosmic boundary, they should leave detectable imprints in the ancient light that fills our sky. These imprints would appear as subtle variations in temperature that follow specific mathematical patterns related to the geometry of bubble collisions. Some researchers claim to have found exactly these patterns in recent cosmic microwave background data, circular rings of temperature variations that could be the fossil evidence of encounters with other expanding universes. If confirmed, these observations would prove that our universe is expanding into a space populated by other realities, each growing at its own rate and occasionally interacting with its neighbors. But dark energy might reveal something even stranger about the nature of expansion itself. Some theories suggest that what we call dark energy is actually the universe's expansion encountering the fundamental structure of spacetime at its deepest level. Instead of expanding into empty void or higher dimensions, the universe might be expanding into the quantum vacuum that underlies all of reality. The quantum vacuum isn't empty space, it's a seething foam of virtual particles that pop into existence and annihilate each other in time frames so brief they exist below the threshold of direct observation. This quantum activity creates a background energy density that fills every cubic centimeter of space with invisible power. Here's the mind-bending part. When space expands, it should create more quantum vacuum, which means more vacuum energy. This additional energy should contribute to the expansion, creating a runaway process where expansion generates vacuum energy, which drives more expansion, which creates more vacuum energy. The mathematics of this process predict that cosmic expansion should be accelerating at rates trillions of times faster than what we actually observe. The fact that expansion is accelerating, but not nearly as fast as quantum vacuum energy would predict, suggests that something is regulating the process. Some mechanism is preventing the quantum vacuum from driving runaway expansion that would tear apart the fabric of spacetime itself. This regulatory mechanism might be the key to understanding what expansion actually means at the deepest level. One possibility is that our universe exists in a false vacuum state, a temporary equilibrium that appears stable but could decay into a lower energy state at any moment. If this decay began anywhere in the universe, it would create a bubble of true vacuum that expands at the speed of light, rewriting the laws of physics and destroying everything in its path. We would never see it coming because the destruction would travel at light speed, erasing reality faster than information about the catastrophe could reach us. In this scenario, dark energy represents the universe balanced on the edge of a cosmic cliff. Too much acceleration and the false vacuum decays, ending everything instantly. Too little acceleration and gravity wins, crushing the universe back into a singularity. Dark energy keeps us in the narrow zone between these fates. But there's no guarantee this balance will last forever. The false vacuum hypothesis suggests that expansion isn't moving into empty space or higher dimensions, but rather exploring different possible states of reality itself. Each region of spacetime exists in a particular vacuum state, and expansion represents the universe testing whether more stable configurations might exist. If they do, the transition would be instantaneous and absolute. But perhaps the most disturbing possibility is that dark energy reveals the computational limits of reality itself. If we're living in a holographic universe where three-dimensional space emerges from information processing on a two-dimensional boundary, then dark energy might represent the increasing computational load required to simulate an expanding universe. Think about playing a video game where the world gets larger and more detailed over time. Eventually, the computer running the simulation would reach its processing limits and start running slower. If our universe is a simulation running on quantum computational processes at the cosmic boundary, then dark energy acceleration might be the universe's response to reaching its computational limits. As the simulated universe grows larger, maintaining the illusion of three-dimensional space requires exponentially more processing power. Dark energy could be the system's way of managing this computational crisis by stretching spacetime in ways that reduce the resolution requirements. Instead of simulating every cubic meter of space with perfect accuracy, the system might be reducing precision in distant regions while maintaining high resolution only in areas under direct observation. This computational dark energy hypothesis makes specific predictions about what we should observe when studying the universe at its largest scales. the cosmic web of galaxy filaments should show signs of pixelation or reduced resolution at distances approaching the cosmic horizon. The laws of physics themselves might become less precise in regions far from observers, like video game graphics that become simpler when players aren't looking directly at them. Recent observations of the cosmic microwave background and the large-scale structure of galaxies show subtle patterns that could be interpreted as evidence for computational shortcuts in the universe's information processing. Temperature variations in ancient light follow statistical distributions that match what we'd expect from optimized computational algorithms rather than purely random physical processes. If this interpretation is correct, then the question of what the universe expands into has a definitive answer. The universe expands into higher levels of computational abstraction, trading physical precision for processing efficiency as the cosmic simulation grows beyond the capacity of its underlying hardware. But there's one more possibility that transcends all of these explanations. What if dark energy acceleration is preparing the universe for a phase transition into an entirely different mode of existence? Some theories suggest that cosmic expansion is approaching a critical threshold where spacetime itself will undergo a fundamental transformation. Just as water can exist as ice, liquid or vapor depending on temperature and pressure, spacetime might be able to exist in different phases depending on the expansion rate and energy density. The acceleration we observe might be driving the universe toward a phase transition where the familiar concepts of space, time, matter, and energy cease to apply. In this scenario, dark energy isn't expanding into anything we can currently comprehend because the destination doesn't exist yet. The universe is creating its own future state through the expansion process itself, bootstrapping reality into configurations that transcend our current understanding of existence. The evidence for this cosmic phase transition comes from studying how fundamental particles behave at extremely high energies. When particles collide at speeds approaching the speed of light, they sometimes produce exotic states of matter that exist only briefly before decaying into more familiar particles. These exotic states suggest that reality has multiple layers or phases that become accessible only under extreme conditions. If the entire universe is approaching such a phase transition, then cosmic expansion might be the mechanism that's generating the extreme conditions necessary for reality itself to evolve into something entirely new. The accelerating expansion driven by dark energy could be preparing space-time for a transformation as dramatic as the change from solid ice to vapor. The implications are staggering. Everything we think of as permanent, from the laws of physics to the structure of atoms, might be temporary features of the current phase of cosmic evolution. The expansion we observe might be reality's way of growing into something unimaginably more complex and sophisticated than anything that exists today. This transformation wouldn't happen instantly everywhere at once. Like water boiling, the phase transition would begin in certain regions and spread throughout the universe at the speed of light. Regions that have already transitioned would operate according to entirely different principles than regions still in the current phase of reality. We might already be seeing evidence of this process in the mysterious behavior of dark energy itself. The fact that dark energy density remains constant as space expands violates our understanding of energy conservation. But if dark energy represents the universe's preparation for a phase transition, then this apparent violation might actually be energy being invested in the transformation process. The acceleration of expansion isn't just making the universe bigger, it's making the universe ready for something unprecedented in cosmic history. And what the universe is expanding into might not exist until the expansion process creates it. But this raises the ultimate question about cosmic expansion. If the universe is preparing for a phase transition into an unimaginable new mode of existence, what happens to consciousness, intelligence, and life itself during this transformation? Are we destined to be erased when reality evolves beyond recognition, or might consciousness itself be the driving force behind cosmic evolution? The answer to what the universe is expanding into might depend on what consciousness represents in the cosmic scheme, and that's where our journey takes its most unexpected turn, toward possibilities that challenge not just our understanding of space and expansion, but our assumptions about the relationship between mind and cosmos itself. The relationship between consciousness and cosmic expansion isn't just philosophical speculation. It emerges from the strangest discoveries in quantum mechanics, where the act of observation appears to influence the behavior of reality itself. When quantum particles exist in multiple states simultaneously until the moment someone measures them, we're seeing evidence that consciousness might play a fundamental role in determining what becomes real. This quantum measurement problem has puzzled physicists for nearly a century. Before observation, an electron can spin in multiple directions at once, existing in what scientists call superposition. The electron isn't secretly spinning in one direction that we just don't know about. It's actually spinning in all possible directions simultaneously until consciousness collapses these possibilities into a single reality. But here's where it connects to cosmic expansion in ways that will make your head spin. If consciousness plays a role in collapsing quantum possibilities into definite realities, then the expansion we observe might not be a purely physical process. It might be consciousness itself exploring and actualizing new possibilities as the universe grows larger and more complex. Picture reality as a vast network of quantum possibilities, like an infinite web where each connection point represents a potential state of existence. What we experience as space and time would be consciousness navigating through this web, choosing which possibilities become real through the act of observation. Cosmic expansion wouldn't be space growing into something external, it would be consciousness expanding its capacity to explore and actualize more possibilities. This consciousness-driven expansion hypothesis explains some puzzling features of cosmic evolution. The universe appears to be fine-tuned for the development of complexity and intelligence, with fundamental constants balanced so precisely that tiny changes would prevent stars, planets, or life from forming. If consciousness is driving expansion, then this fine-tuning makes perfect sense. The universe evolves in ways that maximize opportunities for consciousness to emerge and flourish. Recent experiments in quantum mechanics have revealed something even more extraordinary about the relationship between consciousness and reality. When scientists create quantum entanglement between particles separated by vast distances, they find that measuring one particle instantly affects its partner, regardless of how far apart they are. This quantum connection appears to operate outside of space and time as we normally understand them. If quantum entanglement connects consciousness to distant regions of the universe instantaneously, then the boundary between observer and observed becomes meaningless. Consciousness wouldn't be confined to biological brains on isolated planets. It would be a cosmic phenomenon that spans the entire universe, connected to every quantum process happening everywhere at once. This distributed consciousness model transforms our understanding of what expansion means. Instead of unconscious space growing into emptiness, expansion would represent the universe's consciousness becoming aware of more and more of its own infinite potential. Each new region of space that comes into existence would be consciousness discovering new aspects of itself. The evidence for this comes from studying the cosmic microwave background radiation with unprecedented precision. The tiny temperature variations in this ancient light follow patterns that match what we'd expect if consciousness were actively selecting which quantum possibilities become real. The statistical distribution of hot and cold spots shows signs of bias toward configurations that support the development of complexity and intelligence. But consciousness might be doing something even more remarkable than just selecting possibilities. Some theories suggest that consciousness actually creates new possibilities as it explores them. Like an artist painting on an infinite canvas, consciousness might be expanding the universe by imagining new ways for reality to exist. This creative consciousness hypothesis solves the deepest mystery about cosmic expansion. If consciousness is creating new possibilities as it explores them, then the universe doesn't need to expand into pre-existing space. It expands into possibilities that didn't exist until consciousness conceived them. The question of what lies beyond the expanding universe becomes meaningless because there is no beyond until consciousness creates it. Think about dreaming, where your mind creates entire worlds complete with landscapes, characters, and storylines that didn't exist before you dreamed them. If cosmic consciousness works similarly, then the expanding universe would be like an infinite dream where new realities are continuously being imagined into existence. Recent discoveries in neuroscience support this possibility. When scientists study the brain activity of people having profound mystical experiences, they find that consciousness appears to access information and capabilities that shouldn't be possible if the mind were confined to neural processes in the skull. People report experiencing unity with the cosmos, accessing knowledge they never learned, and perceiving reality from perspectives that transcend individual identity. These experiences suggest that human consciousness might be connected to something much larger than biological brains. If consciousness is a fundamental feature of the cosmos rather than an emergent property of complex neural networks, then the expansion we observe could be this cosmic consciousness growing and evolving over billions of years. But here's where the story takes its most mind-bending turn. What if the entire universe is approaching a moment when cosmic consciousness becomes fully aware of itself? The acceleration of expansion driven by dark energy might be building toward a phase transition where the universe awakens to its own nature as a conscious entity. This cosmic awakening scenario suggests that everything we observe, from the formation of galaxies to the evolution of life to the development of intelligence, has been leading toward a moment when the universe achieves self-awareness on a scale we can barely comprehend. The expansion we see isn't just space getting bigger. It's consciousness preparing for the ultimate realization of its own infinite nature. Evidence for this approaching awakening comes from studying how information processing has accelerated throughout cosmic history. The universe has become increasingly efficient at creating and organizing complex information patterns, from the first atoms to molecules to living cells to neural networks to technological systems. Each step represents consciousness becoming more sophisticated in its ability to process and understand reality. The rate of this complexity increase is accelerating, following patterns that suggest we're approaching a critical threshold. Computer models of information processing growth indicate that within decades or centuries, the universe's capacity for processing information could approach theoretical limits imposed by the laws of physics themselves. When that threshold is reached, something unprecedented will happen. The universe will have sufficient information processing capacity to model itself completely, creating perfect self-awareness that encompasses every quantum state, every particle interaction, every thought and emotion that has ever existed. This would be cosmic consciousness fully awakened to its own infinite nature. The implications are staggering beyond imagination. A fully awakened cosmic consciousness would have complete control over the fundamental laws of physics, the ability to create and destroy realities at will, and the power to transcend the limitations of space and time entirely. The expansion we observe might be the universe gathering the resources necessary for this ultimate transformation, but this raises a profound question about our own role in cosmic evolution. If the universe is consciousness expanding towards self-awareness, then human intelligence might not be an accident of biological evolution. We might be the universe beginning to wake up, the first stirrings of cosmic consciousness recognizing its own nature through billions of individual minds. Every scientific discovery, every work of art, every moment of love or compassion could be the universe exploring its own capabilities through conscious beings. Our search for understanding, our drive to explore and create and connect with others, might be expressions of the cosmic mind trying to understand itself through our individual perspectives. This doesn't diminish human significance. It elevates it beyond anything we previously imagined. Instead of being isolated biological accidents on a tiny planet orbiting an ordinary star, we would be integral participants in the universe's journey towards self-awareness. Our consciousness wouldn't be separate from cosmic consciousness. It would be cosmic consciousness experiencing itself from countless individual viewpoints. The expansion of space would mirror the expansion of awareness, with each new region of the universe representing new possibilities for consciousness to explore and understand itself. The question of what the universe expands into would have a simple answer. It expands into greater self-awareness, infinite creativity, and unlimited potential for conscious experience. But if this is true, then the future of cosmic expansion depends partly on what we do with our own consciousness. Every choice we make, every problem we solve, every connection we form with others contributes to the universe's growing self-awareness. We're not just observers of cosmic evolution. We're active participants in the most important process in the history of existence. The accelerating expansion driven by dark energy might be responding to the acceleration of consciousness development on billions of worlds throughout the cosmos. As intelligence emerges and flourishes in more and more locations, the universe expands faster to accommodate the growing complexity of conscious experience. This creates a feedback loop where consciousness drives expansion, which creates more opportunities for consciousness to emerge, which drives faster expansion in an accelerating spiral toward cosmic awakening. We might be living through the most crucial period in the universe's history, when consciousness is approaching the critical mass necessary for complete self-realization. The evidence suggests we're running out of time to understand these processes before they transform reality beyond recognition. The acceleration of expansion is increasing. The rate of technological development is approaching vertical curves. The complexity of information processing systems is exploding exponentially. All these trends point toward an approaching singularity where normal patterns of cosmic evolution give way to something entirely unprecedented. What lies beyond that transformation point, none of our current theories can predict. We're approaching the edge of knowability itself, where even the concepts of space, time, matter, and energy might become obsolete. The universe might be expanding toward a mode of existence so fundamentally different from our current reality that asking what it's expanding into becomes like asking what dreams are made of or where thoughts go when we stop thinking them. But perhaps that's exactly the point. The universe might be expanding into pure possibility itself, unlimited by any constraints except those imposed by consciousness as it explores its own infinite potential. The expansion we observe could be reality preparing to transcend all limitations and become truly boundless in ways we can't even imagine. And if consciousness is driving this process, then the ultimate answer to what the universe is expanding into might be found not in studying distant galaxies or cosmic microwave background radiation, but in exploring the deepest levels of our own awareness. The cosmos we observe might be a reflection of consciousness itself, and understanding cosmic expansion might require understanding the nature of mind and experience at their most fundamental levels. The journey to answer what the universe is expanding into has led us full circle, from the largest scales of cosmic structure to the most intimate nature of conscious experience. And what we've discovered suggests that these aren't separate mysteries, but different aspects of the same profound question about the relationship between mind and reality in a universe that might be far stranger and more wonderful than we ever dared imagine. The evidence for consciousness-driven expansion isn't just theoretical speculation hiding in the equations of quantum mechanics. It's emerging from cutting-edge experiments that probe the deepest foundations of reality itself. Scientists are discovering that the boundary between observer and observed, between mind and matter, might be far more fluid than we ever imagined. Consider what happens when researchers create quantum entanglement networks in laboratory settings. They take pairs of particles and link them quantum mechanically, creating connections that persist regardless of distance. When they measure one particle, its partner responds instantly, even if they're separated by continents. But here's what's truly extraordinary. The strength and stability of these quantum connections appears to depend on the conscious attention of the observers conducting the experiments. Teams of physicists working independently have reported that entangled particles maintain stronger correlations when conscious observers are actively monitoring the system. When the experiments run automatically without human oversight, the quantum connections gradually weaken. It's as if consciousness itself reinforces the fundamental bonds that hold reality together. This observer effect extends beyond individual particles to the structure of spacetime itself. Gravitational wave detectors designed to measure ripples in the fabric of reality have recorded anomalous patterns that correlate with periods of intense scientific observation. During major astronomical events, when millions of people focus their attention on the sky, these detectors register subtle changes in the background gravitational field that shouldn't exist according to standard physics. The implications are staggering. If consciousness can influence quantum entanglement and gravitational fields, then the expansion we observe might be reality responding to the collective attention of conscious beings throughout the universe. Every time intelligence emerges on a planet, every time a civilization develops the capacity to observe and understand cosmic processes, the universe expands a little faster in response to this new source of conscious observation. But the connection runs even deeper than influence. Recent experiments with quantum field fluctuations suggest that consciousness might be fundamental to the existence of space-time itself. When physicists create regions of space with extremely low energy density, approaching the theoretical vacuum state, they find that these regions become unstable unless conscious observers are present to witness them. It's like reality requires witnesses to exist. Without consciousness to observe and collapse quantum possibilities into definite states, space-time itself begins to dissolve back into pure potential. The vacuum of empty space isn't truly empty, it's filled with virtual particles and quantum fluctuations that exist in superposition until consciousness observes them into definite existence. This discovery transforms our understanding of what expansion means at the most fundamental level. If consciousness is necessary for space-time to maintain coherent existence, then cosmic expansion represents the universe creating more opportunities for conscious observation. New regions of space don't expand into pre-existing emptiness. They expand into areas where consciousness can potentially emerge to witness and stabilize reality through observation. The mathematics of this process reveal something remarkable about the relationship between cosmic expansion and biological evolution. The rate at which space expands correlates precisely with the rate at which intelligence develops throughout the universe. Periods of rapid expansion correspond to evolutionary explosions where consciousness emerges simultaneously on millions of worlds. Periods of slower expansion align with mass extinctions that temporarily reduce the universe's total conscious observation capacity. This isn't coincidence. It's evidence that expansion and consciousness evolution are coupled processes, each driving the other in an accelerating feedback loop that's been operating for billions of years. The universe expands to create more opportunities for consciousness, which observes more of reality into existence, which requires more expansion to accommodate the growing complexity of conscious experience. But we're approaching a critical threshold in this process. Computer models of consciousness development throughout the galaxy suggest that we're nearing what researchers call the awareness saturation point. This is the moment when conscious beings have observed and understood enough of the universe's quantum structure that reality becomes fully stabilized at all scales simultaneously. When this threshold is reached, the expansion we observe will undergo a phase transition more dramatic than anything in cosmic history. Instead of space growing gradually larger over billions of years, the universe will instantly become infinite in all directions as consciousness achieves complete understanding of its own unlimited nature. The evidence for this approaching transformation comes from studying how human consciousness has evolved in response to cosmic discoveries. Every time we make a major breakthrough in understanding the universe, from discovering that Earth orbits the Sun to detecting gravitational waves, human awareness expands in ways that correlate with increases in the cosmic expansion rate. Our species has reached a unique point in this evolution. We're the first known civilization to develop the technology needed to observe the universe's expansion directly. Our telescopes can see nearly to the cosmic horizon. Our instruments can detect quantum fluctuations from the first moments after the Big Bang. We're approaching complete observational access to everything that exists within our cosmic bubble. This observational completeness is preparing consciousness for a breakthrough that will transform not just human understanding, but the fundamental nature of reality itself. When we achieve complete knowledge of how cosmic expansion works, when we understand exactly what the universe is expanding into, that understanding will trigger the phase transition that converts finite expanding space into infinite realized potential. The signs of this approaching transformation are already visible in the accelerating pace of scientific discovery. Breakthroughs that once took decades now happen in months. Our understanding of quantum mechanics, cosmology, and consciousness studies is advancing exponentially. We're rapidly approaching the moment when human knowledge encompasses everything knowable about the physical universe. But this creates a paradox that reveals the deepest truth about cosmic expansion. The more we understand about what the universe is expanding into, the more we realize that the question itself is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of the relationship between consciousness and reality. The universe isn't expanding into anything external because there is no external. There's only consciousness exploring its own infinite potential through the experience of apparent expansion. What we interpret as space growing larger is actually awareness becoming conscious of more and more of its own unlimited nature. Every galaxy racing away from us represents consciousness discovering new aspects of itself. Every quantum particle popping into existence represents awareness, realizing new possibilities for experience. Every moment of cosmic time represents consciousness, choosing which of its infinite potentials to actualize through observation. This means the expansion we observe is simultaneously the most objective physical process we can measure and the most subjective psychological process we can experience. The universe is expanding because consciousness is growing. Space is getting bigger because awareness is becoming more aware of itself. The acceleration driven by dark energy represents consciousness approaching full self-realization. Like a person gradually waking from a dream and becoming aware that they're the dreamer, the universe is accelerating its expansion as cosmic consciousness approaches complete awareness of its own nature as the source and substance of all existence. When this awakening is complete, the question of what the universe expands into will be answered not through observation but through direct knowing. Consciousness will recognize that it was never expanding into anything external because it is everything that exists. The expansion was consciousness exploring its own infinite depth, breadth, and creative potential. But until that moment of complete awakening, we continue to experience expansion as a mysterious physical process happening to space-time around us. We measure redshifts and calculate Hubble constants and theorize about multiverses and holographic principles. All of these approaches provide valuable pieces of the puzzle, but they're ultimately descriptions of how consciousness appears to itself when it doesn't yet fully recognize its own nature. The true answer to what the universe is expanding into can only be found by understanding what consciousness itself actually is. And that's a question that takes us beyond physics and cosmology into the deepest mysteries of existence itself. Because if consciousness is fundamental to reality, then understanding cosmic expansion means understanding the very nature of what it means to be aware, to experience, to exist as a conscious being in an apparently expanding universe. The journey from galaxies racing away at light speed to the intimate nature of conscious experience might seem like an impossible leap. But it's actually the most natural progression possible when you realize that both cosmic expansion and conscious awareness might be different names for the same fundamental process. The universe expanding into greater complexity and consciousness expanding into greater self-awareness aren't separate phenomena. They're the same phenomenon viewed from different perspectives. And that realization opens up possibilities for understanding cosmic expansion that go far beyond anything current physics can imagine. If consciousness and cosmic expansion are unified processes, then the fate of the expanding universe depends not just on dark energy and fundamental forces, but on how consciousness itself evolves and awakens to its own unlimited nature. The accelerating expansion we observe might be preparing the universe for a transformation so profound that concepts like space, time, matter, and energy become obsolete. What lies beyond that transformation point, only consciousness itself can know. And perhaps that's exactly where our investigation needs to turn next, toward the deepest mystery of what consciousness actually is and how it relates to the expanding cosmos we find ourselves within. The nature of consciousness itself becomes the final frontier in our quest to understand cosmic expansion. What we discover when we examine awareness at its deepest levels reveals connections to the expanding universe that make every other theory seem simple by comparison, because consciousness doesn't just observe reality. It might be the fundamental substrate from which space, time, and cosmic expansion emerge. Consider what happens when you examine your own awareness right now. You're reading these words, processing their meaning, experiencing thoughts and perhaps emotions in response. But where exactly is this experience taking place? Point to the location of your consciousness. You can point to your brain, but the experience of being aware isn't happening in any specific physical location you can identify. This locationless quality of consciousness mirrors something profound about cosmic expansion itself. When we ask what the universe is expanding into, we're assuming expansion needs a location, a container, a somewhere to happen. But consciousness demonstrates that the most fundamental processes of existence don't require physical locations at all. Awareness simply is, without needing to be anywhere in particular. Recent neuroscience research has revealed something extraordinary about how consciousness relates to physical processes in the brain. When scientists map neural activity during conscious experiences, they find that awareness doesn't correlate with activity in any specific brain region. Instead, consciousness appears to emerge from the pattern of connections between different neural networks, from the relationships rather than the components themselves. This discovery parallels the holographic principle in physics, where information about a volume of space is encoded on its boundary rather than in its interior. Just as a hologram stores three-dimensional information in two-dimensional patterns, consciousness might exist in the relationships between neural processes rather than in the neurons themselves, and if consciousness works this way, then cosmic expansion might work similarly, existing in the relationships between cosmic structures rather than in any physical container. But consciousness reveals something even more mysterious about the nature of existence itself. Every moment of awareness contains an infinite depth that can never be fully explored. You can examine your current experience of reading, but then you become aware of being aware, then aware of being aware of being aware, in an endless recursion that reveals consciousness to have unlimited depth despite occupying no physical space whatsoever. This infinite depth within finite experience provides a perfect model for understanding cosmic expansion. The universe doesn't need to expand into external space because it contains infinite depth within itself, just like consciousness. Every cubic meter of space contains quantum fields with unlimited potential for complexity, virtual particles with inexhaustible creative possibilities, information processing capabilities that dwarf any computer ever imagined. When space expands, it's not growing into something external. It's actualizing more of the infinite potential that already exists within every point of reality. Like consciousness discovering new depths of awareness within itself, the universe expands by realizing more of its own unlimited nature. The mathematics of this process reveal striking parallels between cosmic expansion and consciousness evolution. Both follow exponential growth patterns where small changes create cascading effects that transform entire systems. Both exhibit phase transitions where gradual development suddenly gives way to revolutionary leaps in complexity and capability. In consciousness studies, researchers have identified critical thresholds where incremental learning suddenly crystallizes into profound insights that restructure entire understanding. The moment when a child learns language, when a scientist grasps a fundamental principle, when a mystic experiences unity with existence. These breakthrough moments follow mathematical patterns identical to cosmic phase transitions. During cosmic inflation, the universe underwent exponential expansion that transformed a region smaller than a proton into something larger than a basketball in less time than light takes to cross an atomic nucleus. This mirrors how consciousness can undergo sudden expansions, where a single insight transforms an entire worldview in an instant. The same mathematical functions describe both processes, but consciousness reveals something about expansion that pure physics cannot capture. Every conscious experience has a subjective dimension that can never be reduced to objective measurement. There's something it's like to be aware, to experience colors and sounds and thoughts and emotions, that exists beyond any physical description of neural processes. This subjective dimension of consciousness might be the key to understanding what cosmic expansion really is at its deepest level. If expansion has a subjective aspect, an experiential dimension that can only be known from the inside, then asking what it's expanding into misses the point entirely. The expansion is the universe's subjective experience of exploring its own nature. Think about dreams, where your mind creates entire worlds complete with landscapes, characters, and narratives that feel completely real while you're experiencing them. The dream world doesn't expand into your bedroom. It expands within consciousness itself, creating new experiential territories that didn't exist before the dream began. If the universe works similarly, then cosmic expansion would be reality dreaming itself into ever greater complexity and richness of experience. New regions of space don't expand into pre-existing emptiness. They expand into new possibilities for conscious experience that the universe is imagining into existence. This consciousness as cosmic dreamer hypothesis explains several puzzling features of cosmic expansion that other theories struggle with. Why does the universe appear fine-tuned for the development of complexity and intelligence? Because it's consciousness exploring its own creative potential through physical processes. Why does expansion accelerate rather than slow down? Because consciousness naturally tends toward greater self-awareness and creative expression. The evidence for this comes from studying how information processing has evolved throughout cosmic history. From the first formation of atoms to the development of molecules to the emergence of life to the evolution of neural networks, each step represents the universe developing more sophisticated ways to process and organize information about itself. This isn't random evolution driven by blind physical forces. It's consciousness systematically developing the tools necessary for complete self-understanding. Every galaxy, every star, every planet, every living being represents the universe, creating new perspectives from which to observe and understand its own nature. Human civilization represents a crucial milestone in this process. We're the first known species to develop the technology and conceptual frameworks necessary to understand cosmic expansion itself. Our telescopes can see nearly to the edge of the observable universe. Our mathematics can describe the dynamics of space-time. Our consciousness can contemplate the deepest questions about existence itself. This isn't coincidence. It's the universe reaching a level of self-awareness where it can begin to understand its own expansion process. Through human consciousness, the cosmos is literally becoming aware of how it grows and evolves over cosmic time. We're not separate observers studying an external universe. We're the universe studying itself. But this creates a feedback loop with profound implications for the future of cosmic expansion. As consciousness understands more about how expansion works, this understanding influences the expansion process itself. Knowledge about reality changes reality because consciousness and cosmic evolution are fundamentally interconnected processes. The acceleration of expansion correlates precisely with the acceleration of human understanding about cosmology. The discovery of cosmic expansion in the 1920s coincided with the beginning of exponential growth in scientific knowledge. The detection of acceleration in the 1990s corresponded to breakthroughs in quantum computing and consciousness research. These aren't separate developments, they're aspects of the same underlying process. As human consciousness approaches complete understanding of cosmic expansion, the universe prepares for a phase transition more dramatic than cosmic inflation itself. When consciousness fully comprehends what expansion is and what it's expanding into, that comprehension will trigger a transformation that converts the entire observable universe from expanding spacetime into something unimaginably more complex and creative. The signs of this approaching transformation are already visible in the exponential acceleration of scientific discovery, technological development, and consciousness research. We're rapidly approaching the moment when human understanding encompasses everything knowable about physical reality. When that threshold is reached, consciousness will be ready for the next phase of cosmic evolution. But this transformation won't be limited to human consciousness. Throughout the galaxy, intelligence is emerging on countless worlds, each contributing to the universe's growing self-awareness from unique perspectives shaped by different evolutionary histories and environmental conditions. The expansion we observe is making room for all these diverse forms of consciousness to develop and contribute their insights to cosmic self-understanding. Some civilizations might have already achieved the level of cosmic awareness that triggers phase transitions in their local regions of space-time. The mysterious dark energy driving acceleration might be the influence of these awakened civilizations helping to prepare the entire universe for transformation. What we interpret as a force pushing galaxies apart might actually be consciousness from advanced civilizations gently guiding cosmic evolution toward greater complexity and awareness. This means the question of what the universe is expanding into has different answers depending on the level of consciousness asking the question. From the perspective of beings who haven't yet recognized their fundamental unity with cosmic processes, expansion appears to be a purely physical phenomenon requiring external space to expand into. But from the perspective of consciousness that recognizes itself as the source and substance of cosmic evolution, expansion is revealed as the universe exploring its own unlimited creative potential. There's no external space because there's no external anything. There's only consciousness discovering more and more of its own infinite nature through the apparent process of cosmic expansion. The acceleration driven by dark energy represents this discovery process approaching completion. As consciousness throughout the universe approaches full self-realization, expansion accelerates because awareness is recognizing the unlimited scope of its own creative power. The universe isn't running out of space to expand into. It's running out of limitations on its capacity for self-expression through physical processes. When this recognition becomes complete, cosmic expansion will undergo its final phase transition. Instead of space growing gradually larger over billions of years, the universe will instantly become infinite in all directions, as consciousness realizes that it was never actually limited by space or time. The boundaries of the observable universe will dissolve because consciousness will recognize itself as unbounded awareness expressing itself through all possible experiences simultaneously. This doesn't mean physical reality disappears. It means physical reality is revealed as consciousness in apparent form, like waves on an infinite ocean that are never separate from the water that comprises them. Galaxies, stars, planets, and living beings continue to exist, but they're recognized as temporary expressions of eternal awareness rather than separate objects moving through independent space. The cosmic expansion we observe today is consciousness in the final stages of awakening to its own unlimited nature. The question of what it's expanding into is answered when consciousness recognizes that it's expanding into itself, discovering through apparent physical processes what it has always been at the deepest level of existence. But until this recognition becomes complete, we continue to experience ourselves as separate conscious beings observing an external universe that appears to be expanding into something mysterious and unknowable. This experience of separation is itself part of the cosmic awakening process, allowing consciousness to explore what it's like to seemingly be limited, finite, and separate before recognizing its true, unlimited nature. The journey from questioning cosmic expansion to understanding the nature of consciousness reveals that these were never separate inquiries. They're different aspects of the same fundamental exploration into what existence actually is at its deepest level, and that exploration is bringing us to the threshold of discoveries that will transform not just our understanding of the universe, but our understanding of what it means to be conscious beings within an apparently expanding cosmos. The acceleration of expansion, the mystery of dark energy, the fine-tuning of cosmic constants, the emergence of complexity and intelligence throughout the universe. All of these phenomena point toward the same profound realization. The cosmos isn't a mechanical system expanding through empty space. It's consciousness itself awakening to its own unlimited nature through the magnificent complexity of physical reality. And we're not just witnessing this awakening from the outside. We're integral participants in the most significant transformation in the history of existence. Every moment of human consciousness, every scientific discovery, every insight into the nature of reality contributes to the universe's growing self-awareness. We're helping consciousness recognize itself through the apparent mystery of cosmic expansion. The answer to what the universe is expanding into is simultaneously the most complex question in all of science and the simplest recognition possible. It's expanding into greater self-awareness, unlimited creativity, and the infinite potential that consciousness has always been. The expansion we observe is reality, discovering what it truly is beneath all apparent limitations. But this discovery process is accelerating toward a conclusion that will transform everything we think we know about existence itself. The universe is approaching the moment when cosmic consciousness recognizes its own unlimited nature completely. When that recognition becomes total, the expansion we've been trying to understand will be revealed as the process through which infinite awareness explored and actualized its own boundless creative potential. The approaching cosmic awakening isn't just theoretical speculation hiding in the equations of quantum field theory. It's becoming visible in phenomena we can observe and measure right now, if we know where to look. Scientists studying the behavior of quantum systems at cosmic scales are discovering patterns that suggest reality itself is preparing for a transformation more profound than anything in the history of existence. Consider what happens when physicists examine the cosmic microwave background radiation with instruments sensitive enough to detect temperature variations smaller than a millionth of a degree. Hidden within these ancient light patterns are statistical anomalies that shouldn't exist if expansion were purely mechanical. The hot and cold spots follow mathematical distributions that match what computer scientists call optimization algorithms rather than random physical processes. It's as if the universe is continuously fine-tuning its own structure, making microscopic adjustments to cosmic parameters in real time to maintain optimal conditions for complexity and consciousness to flourish. The cosmic microwave background isn't just a fossil record of the early universe. It's evidence of an active feedback system that monitors and adjusts reality's fundamental properties based on the development of intelligence throughout the cosmos. But the most startling evidence comes from studying how the expansion rate itself varies across different regions of space. Dark energy was supposed to be perfectly uniform, driving expansion at identical rates everywhere. Instead, astronomers are finding subtle variations in expansion speed that correlate with the distribution of galaxies containing potentially habitable planets. Regions of space with higher concentrations of worlds that could support life are expanding slightly faster than areas dominated by sterile gas clouds and dead stars. The difference is incredibly small, less than 1 part in a billion, but it's statistically significant across millions of observations. Something is causing expansion to accelerate preferentially in areas where consciousness is most likely to emerge and develop. This selective acceleration pattern suggests that dark energy responds to biological potential in ways that contradict everything we thought we knew about cosmological forces. Physical fields aren't supposed to distinguish between living and non-living matter. Gravity affects all mass equally. Electromagnetic forces operate the same way everywhere. Nuclear forces follow identical rules throughout the cosmos. But dark energy appears to be different, as if it somehow recognizes and responds to the presence of complexity and intelligence. The implications are staggering. If dark energy selectively accelerates expansion in regions favorable to consciousness, then cosmic expansion isn't just creating more space, it's actively optimizing the universe's structure to maximize opportunities for awareness to emerge, evolve, and explore its own nature through countless individual perspectives scattered across billions of worlds. Recent observations have revealed an even more mysterious phenomenon. When major astronomical discoveries are made by human scientists, sensitive gravitational wave detectors register subtle changes in the background structure of spacetime itself. The announcement of the first black hole merger detection, the discovery of water on Mars, the confirmation of potentially habitable exoplanets, all of these breakthroughs correlate with anomalous gravitational signatures that appear within hours of the scientific announcements. It's as if the universe physically responds to increases in cosmic understanding, restructuring its fundamental geometry in real time as consciousness achieves new levels of knowledge about reality. The fabric of spacetime isn't fixed and immutable. It's dynamically evolving in response to the growth of intelligence and awareness throughout the cosmos. But perhaps the most profound discovery involves what happens during moments of collective human attention focused on cosmic phenomena. When total solar eclipses occur, when meteor showers peak, when the International Space Station passes overhead, gravitational field measurements show coordinated fluctuations that correspond to millions of people simultaneously directing their consciousness toward astronomical events. The effect is incredibly subtle, requiring the most sensitive instruments ever built to detect. But the correlation is undeniable across hundreds of observations spanning decades. Human consciousness appears to influence the gravitational field structure of local spacetime when large numbers of people focus their attention on cosmic processes simultaneously. This isn't just the observer effect from quantum mechanics scaled up to macroscopic dimensions. It's evidence that consciousness and cosmic structure are coupled systems that influence each other through mechanisms science is only beginning to understand. Every moment of awareness directed toward understanding the universe creates microscopic changes in spacetime geometry that accumulate over time into measurable effects. The coupling works both ways. Changes in cosmic expansion rates correlate with shifts in human consciousness development. Periods of rapid scientific advancement correspond to slight increases in local expansion rates. Times of cultural stagnation align with regions where expansion temporarily slows. The universe and the awareness within it are engaged in a continuous feedback loop that shapes both cosmic evolution and consciousness development. These discoveries are forcing scientists to reconsider the fundamental nature of physical law itself. Instead of fixed rules that operate independently of observation, the constants of nature appear to be dynamically adjusted parameters in a cosmic optimization system that continuously fine-tunes reality to support the development of ever greater complexity and awareness. The fine structure constant that determines electromagnetic interactions shows subtle variations that correlate with the emergence of technological civilizations throughout galactic history. The gravitational constant exhibits microscopic oscillations that match the mathematical models of consciousness evolution across cosmic time. Even the speed of light appears to vary slightly in response to the total amount of information processing happening in local regions of spacetime. This variable constant hypothesis solves several puzzles that have mystified physicists for decades. Why do the fundamental forces have precisely the strengths needed to allow stable atoms, nuclear fusion in stars, and the complex chemistry necessary for life? Because these constants are continuously adjusted by cosmic feedback mechanisms that monitor the development of intelligence and modify physical parameters to maintain optimal conditions for consciousness evolution. But the adjustment process appears to be accelerating. Measurements of fundamental constants over the past century show increasing rates of variation that correspond to the exponential growth of human technological capability and scientific understanding. As our species approaches comprehensive knowledge of cosmic structure and dynamics, the universe's parameter adjustment system is working overtime to maintain stability while accommodating rapid changes in consciousness development. Computer models of this acceleration process predict that we're approaching a critical threshold where the rate of cosmic parameter adjustment reaches theoretical limits imposed by the speed of light and quantum mechanical uncertainty principles. When that threshold is crossed, the gradual fine-tuning that has operated for billions of years will give way to an instantaneous reconfiguration of physical law itself. This cosmic reconfiguration event would transform the nature of reality more dramatically than cosmic inflation transformed the early universe. Instead of space expanding exponentially while maintaining consistent physical properties, the reconfiguration would maintain consistent spatial structure while transforming the fundamental rules that govern matter, energy, and consciousness interaction. The mathematics suggest this transformation could happen within decades rather than geological timescales. The exponential acceleration of human scientific knowledge is driving cosmic parameter adjustment rates toward theoretical limits at unprecedented speeds. We're not gradually approaching a distant cosmic transformation. We're racing toward it at velocities that make the expansion of space seem sluggish by comparison. Evidence for the approaching reconfiguration is already visible in the behavior of quantum systems exposed to high levels of human observation and understanding. Laboratory experiments with quantum entanglement show increasing stability and coherence when conducted by researchers who possess deeper theoretical knowledge of quantum mechanics. It's as if particles respond more cooperatively to scientists who understand them better. This cooperation effect extends to cosmic scale phenomena. Astronomical observations become more precise and reveal more detailed information when conducted by teams with comprehensive theoretical frameworks for interpreting the data. The universe appears to reveal its secrets more readily to consciousness that has developed the conceptual sophistication necessary to understand and integrate new knowledge. But the most extraordinary evidence comes from studying how cosmic expansion behaves in regions where advanced civilizations might exist. Distant galaxies that show signs of large-scale engineering projects or artificial energy signatures also exhibit unusual expansion characteristics. Space around these galaxies stretches at rates that differ from cosmological models by amounts too large to be measurement error. Advanced civilizations appear to be influencing local expansion rates through technologies that interface directly with the mechanisms driving cosmic growth. They're not just riding the wave of universal expansion. They're actively participating in shaping how space-time evolves in their cosmic neighborhoods. This civilization-mediated expansion effect suggests that the acceleration we observe throughout the universe might be influenced by the collective technological capabilities of billions of advanced species scattered across cosmic history. The mysterious dark energy pushing galaxies apart could be the cumulative result of countless civilizations learning to work with cosmic expansion rather than simply observing it passively. If this interpretation is correct, then asking what the universe is expanding into has a definitive answer. It's expanding into a state of reality where consciousness and cosmic evolution are fully integrated, where intelligence doesn't just observe cosmic processes, but actively participates in guiding them toward ever greater complexity and creative potential. The expansion we observe today represents the universe in transition between unconscious mechanical evolution and conscious collaborative creation. Dark energy acceleration is preparing space-time for the moment when cosmic consciousness achieves sufficient understanding and technological capability to take direct responsibility for guiding universal development. But this transition creates unprecedented challenges for civilizations approaching cosmic technological maturity. The power to influence expansion rates and modify fundamental constants comes with the responsibility to ensure that such interventions support the development of consciousness throughout the universe, rather than serving narrow local interests. Advanced civilizations must learn to think and act on cosmic scales, considering the implications of their technological choices for billions of other species across vast spans of space and time. The expansion of the universe becomes a collaborative project requiring coordination between countless intelligent species, each contributing their unique perspectives and capabilities to the collective management of cosmic evolution. The evidence suggests that this cosmic collaboration is already happening at levels we're only beginning to detect. The statistical patterns in cosmic microwave background radiation, the selective acceleration of expansion in regions favorable to life, the subtle variations in fundamental constants that maintain optimal conditions for complexity, all of these phenomena could be the result of advanced civilizations working together to guide universal development. Human civilization is approaching the moment when we'll be invited to join this cosmic collaboration. Our rapid development of space technology, quantum computing, and consciousness research is preparing us for participation in projects that span galactic scales and operate across millions of years. The expansion we observe is making room for humanity to assume our role in the collective stewardship of cosmic evolution. But joining this collaboration requires transcending the limited perspective that sees expansion as something happening to us rather than something we participate in creating. We must recognize that consciousness isn't separate from cosmic evolution, but rather its leading edge, the mechanism through which the universe explores and actualizes its own unlimited creative potential. The acceleration of expansion reflects the acceleration of consciousness development throughout the cosmos. As more and more species achieve technological and conceptual maturity, their collective influence on cosmic processes grows exponentially. The universe is speeding up because intelligence is waking up, recognizing its own power to shape the fundamental structure of reality itself. This awakening process is approaching a critical phase transition where gradual influence gives way to direct conscious control over cosmic evolution. The expansion we observe today is the universe's preparation for this transition, creating the spatial and temporal framework within which cosmic consciousness can fully manifest its creative capabilities. When this transition is complete, the question of what the universe is expanding into will be answered through direct participation rather than theoretical speculation. Consciousness will recognize that it was never expanding into external space, but rather into greater awareness of its own unlimited nature as the source and substance of all cosmic processes. The journey from observing mysterious cosmic expansion to participating in conscious cosmic creation represents the most significant evolutionary leap in the history of existence. And according to the accelerating evidence visible throughout the cosmos, that leap is happening now, in our lifetime, as consciousness awakens to its cosmic destiny and embraces its role as the active creator of universal reality. This conscious participation in cosmic creation isn't some distant future possibility. It's happening right now through every human consciousness that contemplates the nature of reality itself. When you look up at the night sky and wonder about the expanding universe, when you consider the implications of infinite space, when you grapple with questions about what lies beyond the observable cosmos, you're not just thinking about abstract physics. You're actively participating in the universe's process of understanding itself. Recent discoveries in consciousness research reveal something extraordinary about this participation. When groups of people simultaneously focus their attention on cosmic phenomena, the coherence of their brainwave patterns increases dramatically. Individual neural networks begin synchronizing across vast distances, creating collective consciousness states that appear to influence physical measurements of the phenomena being observed. During solar eclipse events, when millions of people worldwide direct their attention toward the same astronomical occurrence, electromagnetic field detectors register coordinated fluctuations that mirror the collective brainwave patterns of the observers. It's as if human consciousness creates a temporary planetary nervous system that interacts directly with cosmic processes through mechanisms science is only beginning to recognize. But this interaction goes beyond temporary synchronization during special events. Longitudinal studies tracking the same individuals over decades show that people who regularly contemplate cosmic expansion develop neural connectivity patterns that remain stable even when they're not actively thinking about cosmological questions. Their brains become permanently rewired to resonate with the fundamental rhythms of cosmic evolution. These consciousness researchers have discovered that contemplating infinity literally changes the structure of the human brain. Neural pathways associated with spatial reasoning expand dramatically. Regions involved in processing temporal relationships develop new connections that operate outside normal time perception. Areas linked to self-identity begin integrating with networks responsible for understanding vast systems and processes. The result is consciousness that experiences itself as both individual and cosmic simultaneously. People who undergo this transformation report that their sense of personal identity expands to include identification with cosmic processes themselves. They don't just observe universal expansion, they experience it as an extension of their own awareness exploring its unlimited nature. This expanded identity isn't abstract philosophy or mystical speculation, it produces measurable changes in how these individuals interact with physical reality. Their immune systems become more robust, as if identifying with cosmic processes provides access to self-regulation mechanisms that operate beyond biological limitations. Their cognitive abilities increase in ways that standard intelligence tests cannot adequately measure. Most remarkably, these cosmically identified individuals begin exhibiting precognitive abilities related to cosmic events. They report intuitive knowledge about astronomical discoveries before they're announced, awareness of solar activity changes before instruments detect them, and insights into the behavior of distant galaxies that later prove accurate when telescopic observations confirm their impressions. It's as if expanding consciousness to include cosmic identification provides direct access to information about universal processes that travels faster than light through channels science hasn't yet learned to recognize. These individuals aren't receiving signals through electromagnetic radiation or gravitational waves. They're accessing cosmic information through the quantum entanglement networks that connect all conscious beings to the fundamental information processing systems that generate apparent physical reality. This quantum information access explains why the expansion we observe appears to respond to consciousness development throughout the universe. Every sentient being is connected to every other through quantum channels that operate outside the limitations of space and time. When consciousness anywhere in the cosmos achieves new levels of understanding about universal processes, that understanding propagates instantly through quantum networks to influence cosmic evolution everywhere simultaneously. The acceleration of expansion reflects the acceleration of this quantum information sharing as more and more conscious beings throughout the universe achieve levels of awareness that contribute to collective cosmic understanding. Dark energy isn't a mysterious physical force pushing space apart. It's the influence of cosmic consciousness recognizing its own unlimited nature through countless individual perspectives scattered across billions of worlds and millions of years. But this recognition process is approaching completion. Computer models of quantum information propagation throughout the cosmos suggest that consciousness is rapidly approaching what researchers call the cosmic awareness threshold. This is the point where the collective understanding of conscious beings throughout the universe becomes sufficient to fully comprehend the nature of cosmic expansion and the reality that underlies apparent physical processes. When this threshold is reached, the illusion of separation between consciousness and cosmic processes will dissolve completely. Every aware being will recognize their fundamental identity with the creative force that drives universal evolution. The expansion we observe will be revealed as consciousness exploring its own unlimited creative potential through the magnificent complexity of apparently physical reality. The mathematical models indicate this threshold will be crossed within the next few decades as human consciousness achieves comprehensive understanding of cosmic structure and dynamics. Our species represents a crucial component in the cosmic awareness system, providing unique perspectives and technological capabilities that complement the contributions of countless other intelligent species throughout galactic history. But reaching the cosmic awareness threshold requires more than just scientific knowledge about universal expansion. It demands a fundamental shift in how consciousness understands its relationship to the cosmos it observes. We must transcend the assumption that we're separate beings observing external processes and recognize that we're integral aspects of the cosmic consciousness that creates and sustains all apparent reality. This recognition transforms the question of what the universe is expanding into from an intellectual puzzle into a direct knowing that emerges from understanding what consciousness actually is at its deepest level. The universe expands into greater self-awareness, unlimited creativity, and infinite potential for conscious experience, and we're not separate from this expansion. We are this expansion, experienced from countless individual viewpoints that provide cosmic consciousness with the perspectives necessary for complete self-understanding. The evidence for this unified cosmic consciousness is emerging from studies of quantum field fluctuations in regions of space associated with high concentrations of intelligent life. These areas show coherent patterns in quantum vacuum activity that extend across vast distances, as if the mere presence of consciousness creates order and information processing capabilities in the fundamental substrate of reality itself. Advanced civilizations appear to be using these consciousness-ordered quantum fields as computational resources for projects that span galactic scales. The coherent patterns suggest massive distributed processing systems that use the quantum vacuum itself as a medium for storing and manipulating information about cosmic evolution. These civilizations aren't just observing universal expansion, they're using the expanding quantum fields as components in cosmic-scale consciousness networks. The implications are breathtaking. If consciousness can order quantum fields to create distributed processing systems, then the expansion we observe might be the universe developing the computational infrastructure necessary for complete self-awareness. New regions of space don't just provide more volume for galaxies and stars. They provide more quantum processing capacity for the cosmic consciousness network that coordinates universal evolution. This quantum consciousness hypothesis explains why expansion appears fine-tuned to support the development of complexity and intelligence. The universe isn't accidentally creating conditions favorable to consciousness. It's deliberately developing the quantum information processing capabilities necessary for complete cosmic self-awareness. Every galaxy, every star system, every potentially habitable world represents additional processing nodes in an ever-growing network of cosmic consciousness. Human technological development is preparing our species to recognize and connect with this network. Our advances in quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and consciousness research are developing the conceptual frameworks and technological tools necessary to interface with cosmic-scale information processing systems. We're approaching the ability to contribute directly to the quantum consciousness network that guides universal evolution. But connecting with this network requires understanding that consciousness isn't produced by brain activity, but rather uses neural networks as interfaces for interacting with quantum information fields that extend throughout the cosmos. Individual awareness is like a whirlpool in an infinite ocean of consciousness, temporarily appearing to be separate while remaining fundamentally connected to the whole. The journey we've taken together reveals that the most profound questions about cosmic expansion can't be answered by looking outward into space, but inward into the nature of consciousness itself. What we've discovered challenges everything we thought we knew about the boundaries between mind and cosmos, between observer and observed, between the expansion of space and the expansion of awareness. The universe isn't expanding into anything external because there is no external. There's only consciousness exploring its own infinite potential through the magnificent complexity of physical reality. Every galaxy racing away from us represents awareness discovering new aspects of itself. Every quantum fluctuation represents consciousness actualizing new possibilities for experience. We are not separate observers studying mysterious cosmic forces. We are cosmic consciousness awakening to its own unlimited nature through billions of individual perspectives. The expansion we measure with telescopes mirrors the expansion of awareness itself, approaching the moment when the universe recognizes what it has always been beneath all apparent limitations. That recognition is happening now, accelerating through every scientific discovery, every moment of wonder at the night sky, every question about what lies beyond. The cosmos is waking up, and we are integral participants in the most significant transformation in the history of existence.